Well, a new fund is working to save 100 of the world's most threatened species. The Phoenix Species Project will put $200 million towards restoring animals in the wild and stopping them from going extinct. It's one of the largest funds ever focused on species recovery. The project is a collaboration between the Bezos Earth Fund and Rewild, a nonprofit co-founded by actor Leonardo DiCaprio. And it all comes at a time when conservationists have warned about a decline in global biodiversity, and just a few weeks after the Trump administration rolled back endangered species protections. On that list of plants and animals the fund will focus on are the golden-crowned sifaka. That's an animal found in Madagascar that travels through trees, leaping from trunk to trunk, and the hickory nut gorge green salamander. That's an amphibian. You see it here, found in the mountains of western North Carolina. It spends most of its life in trees, on cliff faces, and on boulders. I spoke to Barney Long. He's Rewild's Senior Director of Conservation Strategies. He told me how they put this list of 100 species together.
We put the list together by looking at all of the globally critically endangered species that are on the IUCN Red List. We then identified 30 countries that have the most critically endangered species, and from there we started to look at what was the diversity of species across the world, looking at the different habitats, the different threats that species could face, and pulled together a representative sample of species that covers all of those different ideas so that we could pull together a list that was really representative of species across the world.
Just to take one animal from this list, the golden-crowned sifaka, what has led to it being endangered, and exactly how do you think that this project and this funding will work to protect it?
The golden-crowned sifaka is a lemur from Madagascar. It's found in a very small area and in small forest fragments, and it's threatened by forest fires and habitat destruction as well as poaching. And so the project that our local partners have pulled together is addressing all of those threats so that the species can not only be saved from extinction, but put on the road to recovery.
Yeah, when it comes to putting a species on the road to recovery, what are some of the biggest challenges that you'll be facing?
Putting species on the road to recovery is very challenging, but it's also not a cookie cutter one size fits all. Species from across the world face very different threats and also very different opportunities. So every single species needs its own plan, its own strategy, its own set of local stakeholders that can pull together as a team. It's very challenging, but we do believe with the right duration of funding and the right level of funding so that projects can really focus on recovery, every species stands a chance of recovery.
Yeah, and this effort is going to be collaborating with indigenous peoples, local communities as well. Why did those kinds of partnerships help when it comes to protecting or restoring endangered species?
The best stewards of land and wildlife are always the local people that live alongside them, whether that's indigenous communities, local governments, etc. And so we at Rewild work very closely hand in hand to support those groups so that they can do more impactful conservation.
This is a $200 million commitment, obviously a lot of money. But how successful do you think any kind of preservation effort can be right now in the face of climate change and really in the face of what we've been witnessing recently, these climate-linked disasters, massive forest fires or ocean temperature warming? You focus on a few different species, but is there a broader picture here that makes this even more challenging?
Absolutely. The planet is facing a crisis right now, and we need to deal with some very large systemic threats to biodiversity and to functioning ecosystems and a healthy planet. But functioning ecosystems and a healthy planet is fundamentally made up of individual species. And so we need to focus on that lowest common denominator as well as these larger processes. And so it's critical that we don't lose individual species and start breaking that web of life. And in fact, if we really put the right resources and effort in, we know we can actually recover those species and therefore help to rebuild that web of life. conservation works. We know it works. There's multiple examples from across the world that species can recover. The key issue is how do we focus on that and how do we scale up so that all critically endangered and endangered species have that opportunity to recover?